Then in AT&T Doghouse, we talked last week about the mistake that they made by allowing their web service to return the email address given the so-called ICC-ID of SIM cards, which are in the Apple, in this case, the Apple 3G tablet. Well, it turns out that was sort of the first problem. When people who know GSM took a closer look at this, they realized there was another consequence that had not yet received any attention. There's another number, very much like the ICC-ID. This one's called the IMSI. The IMSI is supposed to be secret, whereas the ICC-ID is printed on the outside of the SIM card itself. It's on your receipt when you register a phone or buy a phone. The ICC-ID is not intended to be secret. The original concept for the IMSI is that there would be a database somewhere such that the ICC-ID could be used to securely query a database, which would then return the secret IMSI number when given an ICC-ID. It turns out that a number of the cell phone vendors, I know it's AT&T and T-Mobile and a couple others, decided that was kind of a pain to have to do that. So they decided to use a stunningly simple transformation, merely a matter of swapping digits around, essentially, that allows you to calculate the IMSI from the ICC-ID, meaning that what was supposed to be in the spec a secure, non-obvious relationship for the sake of security now becomes a matter of getting out a pencil and paper. And from an ICC-ID, you can compute the IMSI. So that becomes, and this has been known for a long time, wasn't a big deal, except that now we have the exposure of this 114,000 ICC-IDs, which were really just obtained by guessing what they probably were, since they're generally sequential. And so this hacker group that we talked about last week, Goatse, just wrote a script in PHP to guess all these ICC-IDs, using the AT&T server to confirm them and to return the associated email address. Okay, now we know that so we have some piece of information about the email address. Generally, from the email address, you can guess who it belongs to, as Rahm Emanuel at whitehouse.gov. We know who he is, and so forth.
And why he was using that address is beyond me. Was he? No. I think it was a Gmail address.
Don't remember. But so we have their email addresses. Oftentimes you can tell who they are. Well, now we know that it's very possible to get the IMSI. So what does that give you? The IMSI is this information that is supposed to be secret. And through a formal API that's public because it's universal, you're able to query the GSM cellular network to determine the full account name of the owner, their phone number. This is the information we talked about some time ago, where you now have the ability to track them as they roam anywhere in the world. That is, you can determine which cell tower their phone is currently associated with. You can retrieve their voicemail. And if you are physically near them, which is now not difficult because you're able to determine which cell tower they're at, it turns out it's possible to intercept their speech and SMS messages. Now, in the case of an iPad, which is not a speech device, it's a data-only device, there is no voicemail account. You're not going to have speech or SMS probably associated with it. So these don't represent such a big problem. So again, this is, to me, it feels like, yes, a privacy concern, maybe a little bit of a tempest in a teapot, because days ago when this news surfaced, again, there was another whole flurry of, oh my goodness, everyone's pulling their hair out. I'm thinking, okay, well, if it's unfortunate that the cell companies have associated the ICC-ID with the IMSI. They shouldn't have done that. They did it for simplicity's sake. It should have relied on a secure access to a back-end database so that you couldn't get the IMSI even knowing the ICC-ID, because the ICC-ID is intended to be not super secure. You'd like to have the IMSI kept secret for all of those reasons I just enumerated. Basically, it's a key into someone's, current cell phone behavior at this point. So anyway, I wanted to cover it. A number of people wrote to say, hey, Steve, did you see this? What do you think of it? My feeling is, yes, that's not good. It's not the end of the world, but, that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's good to get that kind of straight, because it's sometimes reported as the end of the world.
It too often is. I think in some cases, I think people like it to be the end of the world. Right. They're wanting to bash on AT&T.
People hate AT&T so much.
Yeah, I do too. But it's still So my feeling is those are the facts. People can decide for themselves how they feel about it.
Right.